guys, how you doing? It is your girl Abia Grant. Welcome to Chapters and Conversations. I hope you guys are doing well and having a beautiful and glorious day. When I'm recording this, today is Sunday. It's actually Memorial Day weekend, and as you can see, I am cozy here. I got on my little thick sweater, got my little they're like long john pants but not necessarily long johns, and we are just chilling here at the house. If you can't tell, your girl is also sick, so I am recovering from a cold, and yeah, we're just dealing with a whole lot of today. But it's okay, it's life. Life is gonna life. But I wanted to come on and I wanted to go over the books that I have basically read for this week. And I think what I'm gonna do for the vlogs is I'm gonna try to do maybe like a weekly wrap up of the books that I read. I figure it'll be a good way just for us to have a discussion about the book. So what is the plan for these type of videos is that I'm gonna give you guys a brief synopsis of the book, then I'm gonna give you the top 3 tropes of the book, and then I'm gonna give you guys my pros and my cons, and then at the end we'll have our rating of what I gave the book. So I hope that you guys do enjoy this type of, video. Let me know if this works for you. I'm just trying to make it more organized for like my reading style and so forth. So let's go ahead and get into the books that I had read this week. So I have finished 3 books this week, 1 Kindle book, 1 physical book, and then 1 audio book. So the first book, which was a Kindle book, was Delirium by Miss Candace. I believe I have spoke about this book in probably one of my last videos. Next book I have finished was Losing It by Cora Carmack. That was basically picked through Spin the Wheel. So yeah, I did my own little spin the wheel situation. So that was the physical book that I had wound up picking out. And then the last book that I had read was The Black Wife Effect by Takara Martin, and that was the audio book that I had listened to. So let's go ahead and talk about Delirium. All right, so this book follows Exodus, and guys, I'm looking down at my notes so that I stay on task. This book follows Exodus and Soraya. Basically, they live on different sides of the fence. So Soraya is pretty much in the bad neighborhood. I believe they're in somewhere in the Southwest. I want to say Midwest, not Southwest. And then Exodus, he's on the other side of the track. So pretty much there's like this bridge that separates the good neighborhood from the bad neighborhood. So Soraya is on the bad neighborhood, and then Exodus is on the good neighborhood. Now Soraya, her mother passed. Her mother was actually killed, and her father is in jail. The only one who is basically there for her is her brother. And then on Exodus' side, he has his whole family. I believe, actually, correction, his father passed, his mother is still alive, and then he has his brothers. However, there is something that unexpected happens, okay, that basically links them together. They know of each other, however, they never had much of an interaction with each other until something actually traumatic happens, and then now they are pretty much intertwined with one another. So the tropes of this book was strangers to friends. The next one was emotional scars. And then the next one is character with blurred morals. And those were the top 3 tropes that I felt like were in the book. Now let's do the pros and the cons. All right, so overall the story was very interesting. I enjoyed how they were strangers and pretty much coming from different sides of the tracks, as I had explained before, but how they were able to connect through their trauma and through or due to the experiences and things that they've gone through. Soraya has, her mother was killed, and she's dealing with that and trying to understand, why things happen that particular way. And then we see Exodus on the other side. His father passed and his mother is sick. So he's also trying to understand and deal with those type of emotions. So it's kind of like what we see in the book is on each side, we understand the reason of why the author has these 2 people with these 2 different trauma bonding kind of situation. All these 2 different issues and reason why they do trauma bond. But we could see that was, very heavily throughout the book. And I do think that it was a pro. The reason why I say that this is a pro is because we really started to understand the reason why the characters were linked towards each other. So I really like that. So let's go ahead and get into the next pro of this book. So we see moments in the book where Exodus' generosity truly shows he is a good person. So Exodus is dealing with how can I say? He's from the other side of the fence. Like, I don't want to give away the story. He's on the other side of the fence and he is wealthy. And due to the traumatic situation that happened to Soraya, we see that Exodus steps up to the plate. This is somebody that she doesn't know that is a stranger to her. And he winds up being more generous to her than probably the average person will be. Well, what I feel the average person will be. And it really is just a testament on who he is as an individual. And that's the reason why I said in the beginning, Lord morals. Like, how he makes his money is through illegal activities. However, I don't feel like he would necessarily do those illegal activities if he could financially provide for his family legally. Okay. But at the same time, his generosity, we see that he is willing to, he's not using his money just to do whatever. Like, if he sees somebody that needs help, then he's willing to help that individual. And we see that throughout the book, with him, with Soraya, and also with his girlfriend as well too. So now let's talk about one of the next pros. So I like that Soraya doesn't allow for her environment to dictate her identity, even though we see her, basically have like a few slip ups. So she's dealing with, okay, she's from the other side of the fence. The neighborhood is not safe. She's having to step out, probably more than what she really would want to due to the traumatic situation that has happened. But you can see that, when it starts off in the book, it talks about how like she was a straight A student and how she's book smart. And I think she wanted to go to college as well too. So we could see that she has her stuff together. It's just unfortunately the environment that she is in, is not giving her the, how can I say, it's not giving her the outlet to be able to truly be, to step to the next plate. But this is the first book. I feel like we're going to see it change as the author, which is Miss Candice, continues to put out the books. I feel like we're going to see some more development regarding that. So I did think that was a pro for her. So now let's go ahead and talk about the cons of this book. And I'm going to be honest with you. I love Miss Candice as a author, a writer. And my favorite book of hers was Mahogany. That would be my top favorite series. And that's the Soul Tie series. But Mahogany, I think maybe she has about 4 books. And that one was my favorite. So I like her writing. However, what I did not enjoy about this book was the slang. I felt like the slang did not resonate with me. It was very much the youth of the times. And, I felt like it wasn't necessary, you know, in my personal opinion. Especially because I don't think the average 18-year-old would read this book, So, like, the people in my age range, or maybe their 30s or something like that, I personally feel like will read this book. So a lot of times I was just kind of like, why are we saying this word? Like, it just didn't make any logical sense to me. But that's my personal opinion. Okay. So the next con that I did not like is how Exit spoke about his girlfriend. Like, I did speak about how he took care of his girlfriend. However, how he spoke about her, I was like, dude, why are you even keeping this girl around? Like, I could understand why, because he says in the book that, she held me down. But I'm like, the way that you speak about her, I mean, she's not there. These thoughts are like in your head and everything. But I'm like, if you're not happy, then why even stick around with her? Like, I just didn't get it. Genuinely, you just don't like her. So what are we doing here? That's my personal opinion on that. So let's go ahead and get into the rating. So I wound up giving this book 3 stars. That is where I, was at. Overall, I feel like this book had a good foundation, and I do believe that once the book is developed more, like the characters are developed more, we're going to see more intricate parts of this book. Miss Candace does say in the beginning of the book, how I am and how she writes is I lay the foundation and she builds on the foundation. So we do see her laying down a foundation. My hope is that, it just gets better. Like the writing and the slang and, that just gets better in my personal opinion. So that is Delirium by Miss Candace. That is my take on that book. And I'm going to go ahead and jump to the next book. So the next book I had read was Losing Sight by Cara Carmack, I believe her name is. And this book follows Bliss, who is a college student who is both a virgin and she is asexual, okay? And pretty much what asexual means is that she doesn't get gratification off of she likes connection, she likes intimacy, but she doesn't let me look it up. And we're just going to check Chat GBT and let Chat GBT tell us what it is. So, an asexual person is someone who experiences little to no sexual attraction to others. That's what I was trying to say. Asexuality is a sexual orientation, just like heterosexuality, homosexuality, bisexuality. So it goes into that. So basically, they like building connections, okay? However, there may not be any sexual attraction. This is what she says that she is in the book. I think that honestly is probably because of who she's connecting with, in my personal opinion. But if you choose to read the book, you can make your own determination on what you feel like, her MO is. So now the next character, which is the MNC, his name is Garrick. He returns back to his alma mater because he's now teaching at the school where Bliss is a college student at, and this is her last year of college. So, she's, mature. I want to say not mature. She is of age. Okay, let's throw that out there. And he returns back and he decides that or he gets hired to teach a acting class because Bliss is an actor. This is how they connect. So the tropes for this book is forbidden romance, unexperienced FMC, and inevitable connection. Let's go ahead and talk about the pros for this book. So Bliss, she's shy, okay? But what we see in this book is that she is quirky and she is witty. And I feel like that made the story very fun. There is a scene in this book, and I laugh right now, where Bliss decides that she is going to adopt a cat. Yeah, she's going to adopt a cat because she winds up telling Garrett that she has a cat. I'm not going to give the whole giveaway or the whole thing that happened or transpired, but I'm like, this girl literally goes adopts a cat because she lied and said that she had a cat. So if he comes over, she wants to make sure she has a cat because she told him that she has a cat. And then she wants to name the cat Hamlet because she's an actor, and it was a whole hot mess. It was a whole hot mess. So like I said, the book was quirky and funny. I laughed when I was reading that particular part in the book. I was really laughing. So another pro of this book was that there was a moment in the book where Bliss and Garrett were on best terms, okay? And something had happened, reason why they weren't on the best of terms. However, Garrett stuck to, helping Bliss. Something had transpired and Bliss needed help. And sometimes when people are going through situations and you're not having a good connection or whatever, people be like, you know what, you deal with your issues and I'll see you when I see you. Whereas in this particular situation, although Bliss was going through what she was going through, Garrick still stuck around. So for me, I feel like that was brownie points, for him. I was like, you know what? Yeah, girl, this is a guy that I feel, would be great for you. And, even though you're angry about him, about a situation that transpired, he showed up. He showed up when when it counted. So I feel like that was very important. So just my last pro is that this was a cute story. The rating I gave this book was a 3.25 stars. Also, this book was a re-release, so it included an extra epilogue. So there was closure for this book. There was two epilogues at the end of the book that I had. There was the original one, and then there was a epilogue. I guess, like I said, she re-released, the author re-released the book, so there was an extra epilogue. So I was like, awesome. I feel like the book was very well written. I feel like it gave it gave a beginning, middle, and end. Like, I didn't feel like anything was missing. I would say the book that's closest to this that I recently read was the book by Zakiya Jamal, which was Sparks Fly, that I talked about, I believe, last month. So let's go ahead and get into the last book that I read. So this was The Black Wife Effect. This was the audiobook that I listened to. And this was a short book. I believe this was a novella, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a billionaire romance that follows Samantha. She is an elite matchmaker. And then we have Will. He is an arrogant billionaire who basically hires her to find a date for him. And the date is supposed to travel with him to Paris. And it's going to be for a business trip. So that is the foundation of the book. So the tropes in this book is fake relationship, opposites attract, and spontaneous disruption. Now, one of the things that I didn't mention, the reason why the title is called The Black Wife Effect, is because Tamitha is black and Will is white. So Black Wife Effect. That's the reason why it's named that. Okay. So the pros of this book, I enjoyed Samantha, her banter, and how direct she was about her feelings. Throughout this book, we see that she is very forthright in how she feels. And I think because she is a person who likes to read like smut books, she talks about that in this book, and she recalls, I guess, the women being very direct. And that's her type of attitude towards the situation. So we see her being very direct with Will. Now, does Will expect that? I don't necessarily think so. I think that this is definitely a different type of relationship for him. So, or connection for him. So I think he's a little bit taken off guard, but then he starts to get used to, this is who she is. So the next pro is the chemistry was sizzling and electric. So like I said, this book is a billionaire romance. This book is also what I consider to be a dark romance as well too. There is a lot of chemistry. When I say chemistry, you know what I mean. There's a lot of chemistry in this book, and it's very electric in this book. I don't feel like it's overkill by any means necessary, because sometimes you do read a book where it's just like too much. I feel like it's the right amount of sizzling that you feel like, okay, this is normal behavior, I guess you can say, or what you expect from two people who are getting to know each other. Now, the next pro that I have is I respected Will because he didn't look at black women as a fetish. He genuinely liked Tamitha. Tamitha is her name. He calls her Tim, so we're just gonna call her Tim because I keep messing up the girl's name. So he doesn't treat her like a fetish, A lot of times, well, I can't say a lot of times, but I have heard of, other races liking black women because they are black, and they feel like it's a trophy type of situation. And it did not come across like that in this book. He was genuinely interested in her, liked her as an individual. She was a matchmaker. She was starting her business and everything. So this was something that he was willing to help out with. Like, you can tell that he just really enjoyed who she was. However, he still was dealing with a lot of his obstacles as well too, because he did not expect to build this connection with her. You know what I mean? He thought he was just going to get a date. They go to Paris and they come back to the US, and that's that with that. So yeah. So that is that last pro. So let's go ahead and talk about the con of this book. And I did not enjoy the way that Will call Tim sweet girl. It was weird. If you listen to the audio version, every time he said sweet girl, I cringe. I cringe because I was just like, this is giving me teen minor type of situation feeling vibe. And yeah, that was what was popping up in my head. And I was just like, I don't like it. You know, cringe, 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 cringe. But overall, I did enjoy, the book. I felt like it was a very good book. Like I said before, I feel like the topics that were discussed in the book were very forefront. Like their sexual connection was there, their chemistry was there, but we did see a actual plot, in a substance to the book. So I thought that that was really good. This is the first time that I have read a book by Takara Martin. That is her name, I believe. Yeah, Takara Martin. That's the first time I have read a book by her. I will consider reading another book by her. I think that that would be interesting. I don't know if she writes things outside of dark romance or if this is her only thing. But yeah, I would read another book by her. I want to give this book 3 stars. That was my overall rating for this book. So I am pretty, excited that I got 3 books done this week. I believe right now I am at 60. Let me check out my Goodreads. If you don't know, guys, follow me on Goodreads because I am on there. I believe I'm at like 67 books right now that I have read for this year. Let's see. I'm trying to pull it up. I'm at actually 68 books. I'm at 68 books currently. And what I'm trying to accomplish for this year is 150 books. So right now I am 10 books ahead of my schedule. So I'm very excited about that and everything. I'm about to actually wrap up another book. I'm reading, it's called Take Me Home. Let me show you guys. No, Take a Chance. It's called Take a Chance, and it's by the author. I'm just bringing it up, trying to bring up the cover page. All right, so this is the cover page of the book. So it's called Take a Chance, and it's by Mayoki May. I believe that is her name because she tells us in the beginning of the book how to pronunciate her name. It's following Cassandra and Cyrus, and basically it's like a reconnection. It's like a second chance romance. That's what it's giving me. But likely I will come back in another video and talk to you guys about that, how I feel about that, the pros and cons and everything. So guys, that is the end of this video. Stay blessed out there in the streets. Make sure you treat others kindly. God willing, I will talk to you guys in another video. I hope that you have enjoyed this wrap up, okay? Because that's what it came out to be. It came out to be a wrap up. I hope that you have enjoyed this wrap up. And I would appreciate if you guys give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification button. If there is a book that you want me to read, if you think that I would enjoy it, let me know down in the comments as well too, because I'm always adding books to my collection. And yeah, so I got my Kindle here. If it's available on Kindle, we're going to download it. All right, guys, so I will talk to you later. Stay blessed. Bye.